My first guest is from interview number 27. Please welcome back from the film A Thousand Miles Behind, actress Vanessa Campbell. Vanessa.
Hi.
Hi, Vanessa. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right. My second guest is from interview number 18. Please welcome back from the Olympic Ballet Theater, dancer Anisa Sinteral. Anisa.
Hi, guys.
Hi. How are you doing over there?
I'm, again, ready to go. So.
Great. Okay. My third guest is from interview number 3. Please welcome back from Paper Nova musician Christiana Wu. Christiana.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Great.
Awesome. I'm so glad that all 3 of you could join me. This is a lot of fun for me. And so we're going to just kind of jump into these questions. And I forgot to mention last time that if you have a question that you want to throw out to the rest of us, please. I mean, this is like a free forum kind of thing. It doesn't have to be coming from me, but I'll start things off what I would consider fairly easily. Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? Anyone could answer.
I consider myself situationally different. Yeah, there's times when I'm a definite extrovert, and then there's times where I am so far over to the introverted scale. And I've done lots of tests and lots of little assessments. And I read that book, what's the introvert book? I can't remember what it's called, but I read the whole thing, and yeah, I still don't know. I feel like maybe that would mean that I was on the spectrum. I would be maybe directly in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Anisa or Christiana?
For me, I'd probably say I'm most comfortable being an introvert, but if I start drinking or I'm in like a social setting, I am definitely an extrovert, but also probably like somewhere on the spectrum of being introvert and extrovert. I don't know. I feel probably more comfortable being an introvert, and then just sometimes the situation is right and we're out.
Oh, no, that makes sense. Chrissy, anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I'm like Vanessa and Anisa, somewhere in the middle. They call it like an ambivert, I think. Yeah, like I actually, not that long ago, I did one of those tests again, and I changed over from being like an extrovert over into an introvert. So I think over time I've realized that I need more time to recharge, with certain activities, but very situational for sure.
Yeah, I was going to just jump in there and say that for myself, that I'm probably like maybe 33% extrovert, and then the other 2/3 is going to be introvert. And if you met me in high school, I was completely introverted. I was super quiet. So somewhere along the line, I kind of came out of my shell. And so I think we're all kind of in the same boat. It kind of depends on the situation and what you're doing. And that's interesting that we all kind of are like that. It wasn't like somebody's like, hey, I'm super extroverted and I can't stand being stuck at home or not around people or whatever. So let's see. What will you tell us a story about something you're wearing right now? Could just be that you bought it somewhere or something funny that happened, in terms of what you happen to have on or jewelry or what have you. Anybody got anything that comes to mind?
It's not about what I'm wearing, but it's about what I've been trying to wear. I keep buying these vintage boots online because I had them. I had these boots for a long time, like a decade, and they were my favorite boots. And they're made by Guess, but they're made by Guess in like the late 80s, early 90s. And I found them at a vintage store, and I wore them until they wore out. And I've been looking for them on eBay and Etsy. And I found a pair, but they were one size too small. Then I found another pair that was one size too big. And then I just found another pair that was like a little bit too small, half size too small. So I now have the original pair, which I refuse to throw away, which are done. And then I have 3 pairs that I like. It's like Cinderella's stepsisters. Like I force them on and I walk around the house and then I'm like, no, I can't wear this. And then I have one that is just so big that there's no way for me to walk in them. And I refuse to get rid of any of them until I find my size. That's what's been going on with me and clothing. Not that I even wear shoes anymore because I'm usually just at home. So
oh, that's awesome. Anisa or Christiana, anything you want to add to what you have on or something like that, what you've been pursuing?
I mean, I'm wearing a necklace that my boyfriend got me and I really like it and I wear all the time. And then on that same note, these earrings are also my mom. She's had them since she was in high school and they kind of look like clouds. And I think they're so pretty and light. So I wear them all the time.
Oh, that's awesome that you have something like that. I don't think I have anything from my parents that I wear. I guess I need to ask them next time I see them. Can I get a watch? Can I get something, a necklace, something? Christiana?
I just wear black tights every day and then whatever is comfortable for the top. Like, so this is me actually dressed up, which is like still a long, flowy, like billowing blouse. Like otherwise I'll be wearing a t-shirt and, the tights. Yeah, that's my everyday attire now that I'm at home.
Okay. And like what Vanessa was saying, I had a chance to finally get out and do a photo shoot, which I haven't done since last August. And then concert-wise since February because of the pandemic. And I was telling the model this morning, it was like, man, I haven't put on shoes that I had to lace in months. And so I felt weird, I felt constrictive and all that kind of thing. So I totally understand and relate to that. And let's keep it moving. This is a little bit more of a serious thing. What celebrity from any area do you wish was still with us? So it could be a musician, sports person, actor. Who comes to mind?
Me. Yeah. Anyone?
I'll start off. I have one in my head. For me, as a musician and selfishly, my favorite guitar player was Gary Moore, who passed away in 2010 or 11. I never got to see him live. So I would love to have him back just for selfish reasons so I could watch him play, maybe get a chance to interview him or something like that. But in general, I would actually pick Robin Williams. He left us too early. I think his body of work and his reputation as a person, in terms of how he interacted with just the common Joe and people on his sets and everything was, he brought so many people joy and laughter, and obviously from the dramatic side with like Good Will Hunting and things of that nature, that I would love that if he was still with us today to keep doing that kind of thing. So that would be my answer. Anybody else?
For me, I would probably go with Frida Kahlo. I think she is fascinating. Her entire life, everything with Diego. I think it would be really insane to hear what she had to say about what's going on now and how she'd portray that in her art. I would imagine it'd probably be like a self-painting of herself in some way, but I don't know. She's just fascinating. She's crazy. It's amazing.
No, that's a great answer. Anybody else want to add in anything?
No, I like both of them. I would love to have people who were like political commentators or, writers or artists or philosophers of their time be able to come back right now in this time period. And, you think, oh, I know what this person would say about the current state of feminism, or I know what this person would have to say about like, left-wing politics nowadays, but you really don't know. And I wonder if they would come here and be like, whoa, this situation is so crazy. And with the globalization of everything, it's so different than, what that person might have written about or what that person might have been talking about. And their whole philosophy might change. Their whole way of looking at things might change now that things are so much more complicated by the fact that everything's so at our fingertips and it's so easy to hear everybody's opinion and see how everybody else is living. I wonder if some of these people who we, really respect and who we really admire and who we really look to would actually be like, what you guys are living through is very different than what I lived through. And I have something different and new to say about it, So I think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really introspective and amazing take on that question. And it would be really fascinating to see what they would say from their perspective and everything that they've amassed during their particular time in history, and then put it to 2020 of where we're at, and kind of see, what do they notice, or what can they add to it, or what can they say, like, I can't relate to what's going on here, or here's what I think you guys can potentially do to maybe kind of improve things. So that's really good. Christiana, anything that you wanted to add?
Like my initial thought was, for this time, I actually was looking up David Bowie the other day, because I was looking up Labyrinth and everything. And, but then I, just thinking about that, I was like, thinking about everyone else, Michael Jackson, or like those folks who were in the 27 Club, but then going off of Vanessa, I'm like, oh man, like what happens if like George Washington was around today? Like, what would he think? Like if he like teleported to today, like what would he see in front of him? Like, and what would he say?
Yeah, no, it'd definitely if we could do that, bringing people back from history kind of thing, and just seeing across the board. I mean, there's so many things that you want to ask them about, especially in terms of where we're at in society right now, that it'd be completely fascinating to know what their thoughts are on that. So, thank you all three of you for those answers. And let me kind of flip it around to maybe something that's what else we got in here. Like I was mentioning to Christiana during the pre-show, I don't know if I want to ask any kind of sex questions. I don't know if people feel comfortable with that. There's some bizarre things that were on the internet when I was looking at those. So let's kind of go to something different. Okay. What do you consider the secret to your success? Whatever you consider success or success in your life, what do you think is the secret that you would pass on to somebody else? What are some tips? Or maybe you don't consider yourself successful. I don't know. Oh my gosh.
I think I could go with, and I don't, there are certain things that I feel proud of, and, I feel like I have had certain accomplishments. But I think they all kind of came about because I had to fail pretty hard to get to those places, So being able to like fail at doing something, or learning how to do something for the first time and it's not going to be great, being able to learn from it, I think is the biggest thing. Learning from your trials and tribulations, learning from your initial mistakes, learning from stuff that you think you did well, but then you look back at it, like however much time later, and you're like, oh, I could do that better. I think that's what really contributes to being a better version of yourself.
Yeah, nice. Vanessa or Anisa, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say failure as well, to look at failure as a good thing, because, I know that as an actor, like if you don't fall down on your face, trying something, then a lot of times you won't ever get anything great. Like you might not feel stupid, or you might feel like, oh, I wasn't terrible, or I got by, but you really do kind of have to try some shit that doesn't work, and have people be like, well, that wasn't what I was looking for. But it's like this way to get to something great a lot of the time. And I think that is true with any art, my sister is this amazing epic belly dancer. I love that there's a dancer on here. And I have a dance background too. And I just started doing belly dancing, the style that my sister does. I started about a year ago, and it's the same thing. It's like, you have to like be willing to look silly and try something different and try something that feels weird. And so I really, really love what you said. And then, I guess I would say for me, kind of dovetailing with that and going along with that, trying to see the opportunity in everything, whether it's like a perceived failure or a good thing or a painful thing or a bad thing, that in every single thing that happens, there is an opportunity. So I think that would be a good thing to strive for. I don't always get there, but
No, that's well said. I think the whole thing about intention is really important. That as long as you're intending to achieve certain things, and you're going to fall short sometimes, and you're going to fail forward and all that. But as long as your intention is to, go a certain direction, then at least you're on the right path. Versus if you don't have any intention, then you're just kind of throwing it up to the universe or whatever. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't, and it influences you in a way maybe you don't want to go. So. I think what you said, Daniel, makes a lot of sense. So, Anisa, anything you want to add in?
I mean, I think these ladies and you all said it really amazingly. But I guess also to add on to it, I would probably say like your value, like whatever you have is intrinsically yours and it is a beautiful thing. And like to be brave enough to put yourself out there in any way, like to fail or succeed or try. It's pretty much all in the attempt almost. And like, I think that that's a really magical thought to like consider yourself valuable. And I think that that's everything.
Yeah, I think the 2 cents I could throw onto that, well, I've already kind of put my 2 cents, and I guess my third or fourth cent is that it's taken me a long time as an artistic or creative person to understand my value of my art. And it's so easy to kind of just give it away or do it because you think you're helping someone, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you kind of have to understand that what you do has value, and maybe you monetize that value, or maybe you do something else in between. And that's, again, for me, that's been a really a long, hard struggle of trying to make sure that it's not just for me. I love the fact that I'm doing this, this, and this. But it's like, well, yeah, maybe you should turn that into some money at some point, or a career or something of that sense. So it kind of makes some sense. So. But that's just something that I personally struggle with, and I'm trying to work on to be intentional. So I'll be completely honest. I didn't even know how to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it, and hopefully you guys can have an answer for it. It says, if you could go back in time and pay more attention to any class in high school, what would you choose? So a high school class that you paid more attention to than maybe at the time you didn't.
Math. I'm terrible with math. And I would love to be able to know how much to tip, and rather than just like pick a number out of the sky. And like, I don't know, I was so bad at it all the time that if I could like really have the thought and be like, you know what, you're going to achieve it, you're going to do it, and then go, maybe I would be in a much better situation. Less calculator.
All right, Vanessa or Christiana?
Yeah, I think I would have paid a lot more attention in math and science. I think that, a lot of times when you're young, you think that you're not good at something, but really it's just because you weren't that interested in it. And I feel like if I would have told myself that, not to say, oh, Vanessa, you're bad at math, but rather to say like, you're just not learning it in a way that's interesting, because if you really stopped, and if someone, had a gun to my head and I had to learn math, I would probably have been really good at it, because later on in life in college, I was forced to take a math class, and I was like, I want to keep my grade point average up. And so I killed it. I did really well. And I was like, I wasn't bad at math. Like, I think a lot of people think that they're really bad at math. And really is just, it either wasn't presented in a way that was interesting, or they simply weren't interested in it. But there's a lot of things that I would say that I'm bad at, and then I get obsessed with learning it. I want to get better at it. And then lo and behold, I get better at it, and then I'm not bad at it anymore, So I think a lot of us tend to, especially women, a lot of times you hear like, oh, like, I'm terrible with numbers or something, but it's like, maybe we're really not, So that, and definitely science. I wish I would have paid more attention in like biology classes, rather than thinking like, oh, this is so, it's driving me nuts. Like, I wish I would have just tried to stay a little more present, you know, because that stuff is so fascinating to me now. So.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great answer. Christiana, anything you want to add?
I think for me, so I had a hard time in history class. Whether it was world history or US history or civics or whatnot, it was, to me, maybe it may have been the style that the class was being taught in, where it was like, here's all the dates, here's all the things that happened. And what I felt like was missing, like now that I look back in retrospect, is, how did those events inform that next era and inform the next chapter? And we didn't really like go too much into that. It was more like, oh, let's regurgitate all the things that happened. But let's not critically think as much of like why it happened and how we can avoid things in the future, or, like look back and like learn from it. So just kind of like a side tangent. It's like when I see stuff that's happening like this day and age, and like I'm seeing internet arguments or whatever, there's a lot of like misinformation or like inaccurate facts that are like being put out there. And, there are things that sometimes I don't even know, like I have to Google it, and I have to like inform myself. But I feel like it's one of those subjects that, we should be kind of informed on. And like, if we don't know it, just look it up,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes complete sense. I think just in general about trying to fact check and I actually understand something. And in my case, I'm kind of in the same boat as Anisa and Vanessa, that my worst subject was math in high school. And I did really well in 7th grade. And then when I got to algebra in 8th grade, something turned the wrong way. I didn't understand it. Then I went to geometry and trig and all this stuff. And like what Vanessa was saying, when I think about that, if I had maybe applied myself or had somebody that was kind of like really trying to impress upon me the fact that I could learn this, I probably could have. But at the time, it seemed like such a struggle that I was just trying to get the credits, be done with it, and then move on to the next thing. Because I loved English, obviously being a writer now and all that. And I actually loved history and social studies. But math, oh my gosh, I hated those classes. Yeah, so hey, we're going to keep it moving because we've got about 8 minutes here. And so let's throw this one out there. If you were a vegetable, what would you be and why?
I would be an asparagus. Because I'm so tall and I know it. And I know I would be an asparagus. And
how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Wow.
I'm up.
No way.
Yeah. So like an asparagus, without a doubt. I've put on like, those dresses everyone has. I mean, it's very beautiful, but you put them on and they're like they don't cinch or anything. They're just kind of like a nice like sheath dress or a t-shirt dress kind of. And I love the color green, and I put it on and I just look like I'm like straight up an asparagus.
That's so cute. That's so funny.
My God.
I think that I am an onion. I have a lot of layers. And yeah, and if you peel away enough layers, like you and I will start to cry. So like it's just like, it's like yeah. And plus I love onions, like red onions, white onions, yellow onions, like all the onions. Yeah.
Okay,
so
Vanessa?
Awesome. I'm gonna go with a beet because it's earthy. It's a root vegetable. And also because one of my favorite books is Jitterbug Perfume. And he starts with this whole like love poem to beets. And the more he would talk about it, how a tomato is too frivolous and, whatever the other vegetable was, too hard. And the beet bleeds this like crimson, beautiful, intense, dark, deep color. And, it's so just like intense, and so anyways, I would be a beet.
Okay, so we've got asparagus, onion, a beet. I actually thought about the same thing for myself, that I would be an onion, but not for the same reasons as Christiana, only because I love onions. And that's the only thing I could think of was that of the vegetables. I wouldn't be a carrot or a green pepper, or I wouldn't be any of those kind of things. So for me, it would just be an onion based just purely on what I like. I don't know if I don't have any kind of deeper meaning about layers, which is actually really good, Christiana. I'm glad you said that. So let's see. Let's keep it going here. Where'd that other one go? Oh my gosh. Oh, this might be kind of tough, but what's something you can consider incredibly common that you have never done? So like maybe a lot of people say, oh, I've gone to a certain place, or I don't know, I've driven a car or whatever. That's like something you just have not done in your lifetime. And I'll start it off. Like for myself, I've never learned to drive a stick shift. So I know a lot of people know how to drive a manual. I just never learned it. So that to me is something common that I just never did. Anybody else got anything they can think of? Okay, that's kind of a tough one.
I've never been to the Grand Canyon.
Okay, so a real popular place. All right. Anybody else got anything that they can throw into this one?
So I mean, I actually I had done it like recently, but like for a long time in all my years, I had never been to like a sports game. I just, had never really, I didn't get tickets, I didn't really go with any friends or anything like that. And then recently I was able to, well, not recently, but like last year we were able to go to like a preseason game or something like that, at the, for the Seahawks. So,
okay.
that was interesting. I was just like, oh, I'm not, there. Yeah.
Did you like it?
It was one of those, it was like a throwaway kind of game. And and it was like, we're all there just to like drinking beers and like camaraderie and all of that. But I'm not like a huge like sports person just in general. So like, it was more of like a company outing. So I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. But yeah, just hadn't done that until recently.
Yeah.
Okay. Vanessa?
I haven't seen a lot of movies that are apparently movies that everybody has seen. Like, I don't know. There's a lot. Like I never saw Top Gun with Tom Cruise. I never saw Rocky with Sylvester Stallone. Like the movies that kind of made people what they are. A lot of them I haven't seen. And for a really long time, like there were certain, there was like a whole period of time, like a decade of time of movies, like in like the early 2000s that for some reason, like I haven't seen any, I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't seeing the movies of our time. Or like I'll hear a song and it'll be like a monster hit and people will be like, you don't know that song? Like what were you doing at that? It was like I was living on some like cult or like in some other place or something. But yeah, just like, I don't know. That whole period is like lost to me somehow. So that and I've never done cocaine.
Okay. Anyone else?
Okay, well, in Los Angeles, that's a really big deal.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We got about 2 minutes or so. So this will be, I think, the last question. And on that kind of movie thing that Vanessa was just talking about, what do you consider one of the scariest movies you've seen?
Oh God, what's the scariest movie I've ever seen? I've seen The Shining a million times. It still utterly destroys me every time. I always want to turn it off. The last time I watched it with my boyfriend, I got up and was like, I can't. Like, even though I love it and I read the book, and it still really, really disturbs me towards the end. I was very, very scared of Hereditary. And I was really disturbed by that movie. There's this amazing movie called I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House with Ruth Wilson. It's like she's like the only person in the movie. And it's so beautiful. It's an art film. It's a horror movie. Utterly terrifying. Yeah. There's a lot of movies that really scare me, though, to be fair.
No, those are great answers. Anisa or Christiana, anything that come to mind?
I'm not really into scary movies. I get too scared.
Okay.
But I remember at the time when I watched War of the Worlds, I was like, this is the most messed up thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like the idea of like aliens coming down and then like killing people. And then like at the time when I watched it with the Tom Cruise one, I was like in Germany. And I remember the thought of being like, okay, aliens are here. How do I get to my family? Like, is there going to be boats? Am I going to swim? Are there flights? Like, are aliens going to stop the flights? And the idea of like not being able to get to like my loved ones in a time of crisis, I find like it's too much. I think it's it's a horrible concept. I don't know.
I've never heard. Did this movie come out in the early 2000s? I don't know this movie.
Oh my
Maybe
God.
I just have never seen very many Tom Cruise movies. Maybe that's it. Okay.
Tom Cruise.
Oh
I know
my
Dakota
God.
Fanning's in it though.
Oh, I love
Yes.
her too.
Yes.
Yeah, she's like little.
Christiana, quickly, if you have anything you want to add.
Sure. I really love scary movies, but I watch them half the time like this, you know? But like, I think the one thing, I don't really consider it the scariest movie I've ever seen, but like, it's the first thing that came to my mind was the one that really stuck with me when I was younger was watching Sixth Sense by M. Night Shyamalan. Like we watched it in the movie theater, and like I was watching it with a bunch of my friends, and like every single time that there was a scare, I was like doing this the entire time, you know? I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know? But I really, like, it stuck with me. It was a great concept, and, you know, it definitely feeds as an influence to the work that I do even today.
Okay, and I'm quickly just going to say Martyrs, and I won't even talk about what that film's about. It's just freaking disturbing and disgusting and everything. I actually had a model that recommended it to me, knowing that I love horror movies, and I barely finished it. It was just beyond disturbing to me, and I guess it was also over the top gory too. So, Vanessa, Christiana, Anisa, thank you so much for taking the time. This was so much fun, but we have a packed schedule tonight. So I hope that you stay safe. I hope that you had some fun today, and that I'll see you sooner than later. So take good care, and hopefully see you soon. Okay?
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.